Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure, and it's They Made What into a movie, although this one technically could fall under the They Made What into a TV series, because it was actually a web series, 6-part live action mini-series that aired back in 2010. However, it's all been put together into one complete film. If you want a short film, this isn't going to be too long of a video, so we're going to do it as a movie. It is based on the action-adventure horror game Alan Wake, developed by Remedy Entertainment and released on the Xbox 360 in May 2010. Alan Wake's story, if you don't know, follows the best-selling thriller novelist Alan Wake as he tries to uncover the mystery behind his wife's disappearance during a vacation in the small, fictional town of Bright Falls in Washington. All while experiencing events from the plot of his own novel, which he cannot remember writing, and it appears to be coming to life around him. This show is called Bright Falls. As I said, 6 parts live-action miniseries prequel to Alan Wake, set before the events of Alan Wake. It was announced on the 22nd of April 2010, and the first 2 episodes were officially released on the Bright Falls website, which still exists, on the 27th of April 2010. The series is co-written and directed by Philip Van. So, this can be a confusing experience. There is no point watching this if you've never played Alan Wake. You will not get it.
I've played Alan Wake,
and you still don't get it.
This movie confused the crap out of me, and probably after listening to what you say and going for the notes, I will watch it again.
Okay.
Just to understand, because it's only short. But yeah, I played the game quite a while ago, but I thought I had the basis of the game from what I knew, but clearly not, because I was confused for this entire 30 minutes.
There are points where I was I don't really get it. But overall, by the end, I was like, no, I get it. It's a contained story that serves as a setup for the events of Bright Falls. And you know that because of some of the things that surround it, and particularly how it ends. But I'm going to talk it through, note by note, and we'll stop at places where maybe I was a bit confused or you were a bit confused. So, Christopher Forsyth plays Jake Fisher. He's the novelist journalist who comes to Bright Falls to interview Dr. Hartman about his new book. But also potentially getting away from his home life, as we will find out.
So that wasn't Alan Wake then?
No, that was... Yeah, Damon already said to me off camera that he thought the main guy was Alan Wake.
Yep.
I was like, mate, you did not pay attention. We've got Alison Lange as Ellen Adams. She's an old colleague of Jake who lives in Bright Falls now. Bruce Katzman is Dr. Emil Hartman, who has just written a book, which is why Jake is there to interview him, but he's also a bit mysterious. I presume you recognise him from the game,
yeah?
Okay. Cooper Huckabee is Sam Smith, the man in charge of the motel. Robert Peters as Deputy Mulligan, one of the town's deputy sheriffs. Marit Bartlett as Rose Marigold, a waitress at the diner, who's also a big fan of Alan Wake, and apparently loves writers, hence she starts flirting with Jake. Do you remember her from the game?
Yeah.
Good. Ika Villa and Matthew Perita as Alan Wake, the main protagonist in the Alan Wake game. Ika Villa is the actor shown as the character of Alan Wake for live action appearances within the game, while Matthew Peretta is the voice of Alan both during the playable portions of the game and the live action scenes performed by Villa.
That's quite impressive, actually.
So there was someone who played him in the live action scenes in the game, but there was someone that voices him, 2 different people. And Emily Peterson also appears as Alice Wake, the wife of Alan, briefly in a non-speaking role. Right at the very end, people. Right at the very end. Yep. We begin seeing a diver pull himself out of the water with a body bag. He opens it on land, and look, I could not work out what was inside. I paused it, I zoomed in. I could not work out what was inside this body bag. It wasn't a body. Did you know what it was?
When I first started, I've got to admit that I had to pause it because I thought, have I skipped the first 10 minutes of this film or something?
Okay.
What the hell is going on? It's literally just how it starts.
Yeah, it drops you right in it. Yeah, it really does.
No, I just presume it's a body, but obviously...
I'm going to guess it probably was because he leaves in a boat and we see that what was ever inside the body bag is now gone. And then later, the body bag will come back, so I can only presume it was. But it's really, really hard to see because of how dark the scene is. Jake Fisher is driving into the town of Bright Falls while on the phone to his boss on his way to interview Dr. Hartman. It seems as though we get here, he's having some relationship issues outside of his work as his conversation turns to somebody named Libby. Jake hangs up and arrives at the diner where he goes through his notes and meets the waitress Rose. She reveals to him that she's a big fan of Alan Wake. Cardboard cutout. Barry's going to get hold of that later on, mate.
Yep.
And is a bit flirtatious with him. Things get weird though as a big plate of food is brought out to him and everyone starts to sing happy birthday to him. Yeah, I didn't get it. All I thought was, it's just weird.
As I said, I was already confused at this point.
Thing is, I get it. I get it now after seeing the full thing. So they're singing happy birthday to him because this is his arrival in Bright Falls to be part of the darkness, the thing that's taken over Bright Falls, their sinister darkness, your birth.
So do you think that they were all...
Yeah, I do.
They were already infected, these people?
Not necessarily fully, but I definitely think they've momentarily taken over.
Okay, then.
And this is like his birth,
because
so to speak.
The doctor definitely had something wrong with him.
Yeah, but...
Because the way he was acting, man.
Yeah, but that's tied... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, what are you, a detective or a peeping Tom?
Both. A reporter.
Kinky.
Interesting choice of decor you have there.
That's Alan Wake, the writer. I'm a big fan.
I can see that.
What can I say? I like writers.
Afterwards, he gets into his car, but a call from Libby distracts him and he hits a deer. One that is badly injured, but disappears into the brush when he looks away. So this is a quick shot of it. This deer is darkness infected.
Yeah.
You see it in its face and all that.
Yeah.
Makes sense to you?
Yeah, that I was okay with. But just moral of the story, don't be in your phone while driving.
Of course, yeah. I mean, duh, it's illegal for people. At least in the UK, it's illegal.
Yeah, but yeah, they did that. I mean, the whole birthday thing, now that makes sense from what you're saying, because it actually does make sense. And then the whole deer part, that makes... I'm okay with that.
Yep, okay. Good, just make sure you're following along.
Yeah.
Jake continues driving, arriving at the motel and meets Sam, with a room having been pre-booked. On the way to the room, Jake tries to engage Sam in conversation, asking about how quiet it is, but Sam doesn't really respond, aside from cryptically saying that if it is quiet, you need to worry. Basically, it's the quiet you need to worry about. Yep. Okay. Jake lies down in the bed and closes his eyes, waking up in the morning. I think this shot has some great transitions like that.
I
really like it.
It literally like it was like all done in like a second.
I really liked it. Driving into the main part of town, he goes back to the diner and sees Rose again. And there are lots of hints to place this in a specific time frame. And one of them is him seeing the sign for Deerfest coming up soon, which of course is a major part of Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sees Rose again. He then meets up with Ellen, who's an old colleague, it seems, who moved to Bright Falls. Not really explained that well, but they just seem to know each other. May have had
a relationship
briefly,
yeah.
or something like that. Definitely seems to be there. Because it's clear she might harbour some feelings for him, but he's quite oblivious at this stage. Mm-hmm. She leaves and Jake heads to meet Dr. Hartman, who doesn't want to be recorded. So Jake has to do it via hand. Jake starts the interview asking about Dr. Hartman's book, but as he talks, Jake fixates on a painting on the wall and suffers a myriad of sudden flashes before he finds himself out of the interview with Dr. Hartman saying his goodbyes. It's all like over like that. Oh!
Just about people. Nice chatting, Jake.
Jake heads back to the motel, thinking that he just screwed the interview up royally.
Yep.
Finds that he actually did document the interview, as well as some other unusual stuff, and he doesn't quite remember. As he heads into a tunnel, darkness and closes around him. That's kind of the end of one of the episode things.
Yeah.
As like a harbinger of things to come.
Is the reason why the doctor didn't want to be filmed? Is that because maybe it would have
recorded?
Sorry, but that would have maybe picked up something.
No. I just suspect he's so suspicious, particularly the work he does. Remember, Alan challenges him a lot in the game on that work.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything in it beyond that. Jake wakes up in the woods. How he got there, he has no clue, but his hands are covered in red mud. He sees himself being watched by a young boy, Sam's son, but the kid runs off. He then sees that he's near the motel. Sometimes afterwards, Jake goes to the local newspaper where Ellen works and he confides in her about what has happened to him recently. The Hartman interview and waking up in the woods. She assuages his concerns and he leaves okay, and the two share a hug. At the motel, while on his cleaning rounds, Sam hears a smashing sound and finds a smashed light bulb. He changes it and we get a good shot here, seeing that it's a regular occurrence for him as he's got lots of bulbs and there's lots of bins filled with smashed bulbs. So he seems to be trying to keep the lights on. But sounds in the nearby woods disturb him. After, we see him getting a gun before heading out as night begins to fall. He goes into the woods, firing off his weapon, seemingly to scare something off, but he ends up slipping on the expended shell and breaks his ankle, laughing manically before being dragged off by something unseen. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, obviously he's aware that it's dark as well.
It was where, yeah, possibly, yeah.
So, why would you go in the woods?
Yeah, I don't quite follow that part either.
I don't get that. I mean, and I don't think you can really. Can you really slip on a shotgun shell? I don't know. Would
Oh yeah, because it hits your heel and you go backwards. Yeah.
surely your weight would break the case, but yeah, I don't. Again, that's me picking.
That is really
It's
nitpicking.
yeah.
Good God.
I'm guessing he's laughing because he knows he's dead.
Possibly, or he's just laughing at the fact that he fell over.
Yeah,
Possibly.
yeah.
Jake is finding out that life in a small town is difficult when he struggles to get replacement parts for his car quickly. He drives to the diner where he sees a woman acting crazy, trying to destroy the lights in the street. So this is what I think you haven't quite understood. The darkness is beginning to spread throughout Bright Falls.
But it can't spread because of the lights.
Yeah, that's it. Lights are its problem.
Okay,
it's always been
yeah.
its problem and stuff like that. That's how it can't. So it's kind of like encouraging and taking over a mind to try and smash them and stuff like that. He goes inside and tells Rose what he saw, and the deputy that was bitten by her comes inside because this woman bites the deputy.
Jill, mind telling me what you...
Jake, though, ends up focusing on a Deerfest TV ad before having more confusing visions. When he wakes up, because that's it, he wakes up, he finds himself inside a body bag on the beach. So this is where he's like, oh, okay, right. He pulls himself free, but a bright light from the water sends him scurrying into the woods. So the lights seem to have an effect on him.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, yeah, he's been infected at this stage. And it's probably part and parcel of this whole body bag process that we're seeing happen. It's morning. And Jake has pulled himself out of the woods and finds himself on the road. He's barefoot, dirty and dishevelled, but finds his car with the boot open, suggesting that he did drive here then.
Yep.
As he drives, he gets a call from his boss and heads back to see Dr. Hartman to get a book signed for him. Here he decides to confide in Dr. Hartman about what has been happening to him. Dr. Hartman is a bit dismissive, but checks him over. However, the shining the light in Jake's eyes causes him to feel pain, and he runs back to his motel room, panicking. There, he tapes his hands to a metal pole and sets his camera to record. The next day, Jake wakes up on the floor. His hands are free. When he watches the tape back, he sees himself breaking free and smashing the room up in a rage. I thought that was cool.
It was cool, yeah.
It was. Obviously disturbed by what he saw himself do, Jake is getting out of town. However, the deputy was bitten before arrives at the motel to speak to him about Sam being missing. So obviously the room being a mess is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But Jake plays off the mess as an animal getting to the room when he left the door open the night before. It seems to work, as the deputy thinks it was a big stag that got inside. So yeah, I do like the fact that it seems like the deputy might be suspicious. This ain't no animal.
No,
it was
no.
and he goes, it was a so and so.
Yeah.
Before leaving, believing that Sam probably has got drunk somewhere and fell asleep. Jake rushes to see Ellen, who is just on the phone with someone. He asks her to drive him and get him out of town. He doesn't believe that he would let himself leave, hence why he's asking her to do it. I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah.
He zones out again though, and when he comes back, he's now driving the car alone, except for one of Ellen's shoes that has a spot of blood on it. So that tells you he took over again, the evil in him, the darkness. He killed her and then started driving. Because he also sees a sign saying "Welcome to Bright Falls." Yep. So obviously suggesting that he's going back into the town. He can't escape.
Was she in a body bag? Maybe? Do you think?
At the start.
Yeah. Do you think maybe?
No, why? No, that's a leap.
That's my job. I'm a leaper.
Yeah. I don't even get why you'd care.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake.
É somente pra você. Eu vou embora pra te seguir. Vou embora, coração. Eu vou embora pra te seguir. Mas pra que serve a minha paixão? A minha paixão.
Anyway, he slams the brakes on, stops exactly where he hit the deer the night he arrived. And then he seems to freeze as the car just gets frozen solid, like in a trance as night falls. We then see the car's empty as the police have arrived. They've closed off the road for this. So it's almost back where it started, and I guess Jake is just fully gone now.
Yep, gone, yeah.
Which is quite something. A car comes by and stops with a person asking if everything's okay. And this is Alan Wake, and in the passenger side is Alice Wake. And the policeman says, no, carry on. And we see Alan Wake driving off to Welcome to Bright Falls. And that part of it. And that's Bright Falls. That's the mini web series / movie that we've just covered. And it's intriguing.
What happened, officer?
Some guy missed the turn here. Probably a deer or something. Just be careful through this next stretch of road.
Okay, thanks.
So what do I like? I like that it feels so Alan Wake. Like, having just as well in the last couple of months completed and finished Alan Wake Remastered, it's all really familiar to me. And the locations and the setting and the story, it's so Alan Wake. I really, really found it quite captivating to watch. I think the acting's quite strong. I love that it's live action. They didn't do animated or anything like that, or computer-generated graphics. It's live action, which adds a really nice touch. Like Alan Wake, it's got Twin Peaks vibes. As a Twin Peaks fan, I'm a big fan of that as well. I like the music. I like how mysterious it all is. And I like how it ties into the main game without actually tying into the main game, which I thought was really, really cool. Things I didn't like, though, it is confusing. It's not easy to follow. It being like a handful of minutes per episode means you always have this like intro and outro and then just a couple of minutes of sometimes going, wait, what?
Yeah.
It is all over the place, jumping. But I do feel like that was the goal. Disorientation. Because Jake is disorientated, not knowing what's going on.
Yep.
The same things happens to Alan. I think it's designed to make us feel the same too. So overall, I enjoyed this.
Okay, well, I mean, for me, obviously, I had no clue what was going on pretty much for the entire thing. But now that we've talked through it, it now makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
And I must have missed Alan Wake and his wife in the car. Because I was convinced that geezer was Alan Wake for the entire thing.
No, that's crazy.
So I've turned it off like a minute too early or something like that.
I reckon it's 10 seconds at most. You may have looked away.
So I'm going to go back and actually watch this again tonight. Because it's only 30 minutes long. So
it's easy to get through.
It's very short and it's on YouTube. So, so I'll give it a watch.
Do you think that might improve? Are you kind of like, if I watch it a second time, I might enjoy it more than you currently feel?
I think because I'll be more aware of the fact of what's actually happening and what I understand. I like the fact that a sign of a good show or film is where they don't really have to show the enemy, the bad guy, the
Yep.
creature, and you barely see this darkness creature thing. So that's obviously a sign of a good program or a show, whatever it is. So the fact that you know there's something going on, but you ain't got to see it to know it.
Yeah, because I mean, remember they can't as well because it's Alan that really unleashes its full power.
Yeah.
So here we're just getting the tendrils, as it were, beginning to reach out and cause issues within Bright Falls. But I'll go back to what I said at the start. There's no watching this without knowing the game. Like that, I know that sounds silly because you'd be like, well, of course, but no, that doesn't always work.
No.
There are many movies you can watch that's a video game movie adaptation that you can watch standalone and enjoy. This is purely for fans of Alan Wake.
Yeah,
that is it.
If you had no clue about this at all,
You'd be baffled.
Yeah, you'd have no idea.
I don't even think you'd like it.
No.
You know?
I mean, the fact that it was episodes, I don't know how that works, but like 5-minute episodes.
Yeah, web series.
That would have been ridiculous, man. Imagine that, man.
No, it's been done loads of times, but yeah, it's web series more than it's not like on the TV. It gets uploaded to a website. It's 5 minutes bits.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
that's what I mean by web series.
Okay,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Because imagine watching it on like Sky One or watching.
No, God, no, yeah, no, of course not.
See you in a week's time for another 5 minutes.
No.
Yeah.
There are lots of web series.
Okay.
Before the Mortal Kombat remake movie came out, and they had that Mortal Kombat web series, adult web series.
Yeah.
That's like 10 minutes. Episodes on a website as well. Lots of stuff have done it. This just did it as well quite earlier on, back to 2010. I mean, bear in mind it's 2013 now. That makes us 13 years old, and it's good timing as well, of course, because we're expecting Alan Wake 2 at some point this year as well. I believe some point this year, or maybe it's early next year, 2024. But either way, it's an intriguing watch. I'd say if you're a fan of Alan Wake or you know Alan Wake well, check it out. See what you think. You might think it's all a waste of time. It doesn't really add much to the overall lore, because there's a question mark about that. Does it really add much to Alan Wake? Not really. But I didn't mind it. And the fact that it's short and you can watch it all in one big lump rather than episode by episode certainly is in its favour.
Yep.
But if you have seen it already and you've got any thoughts and you know what to do, let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?